My name is Salsabila, and today I want to talk about something that has been on my mind, and it is performative males.
Damn, I feel performative matcha every day. Damn, I cop some low boo-boos, and I read today.
No women.
Damn, I am a feminist, feel like Beabadoobie.
And I am from New York City, so I will say I do think low-key it might be the birthplace of this like trope of men. Like, not to be a New Yorker and make it all about ourselves, but like I feel like since I've started college, I have seen this genre of men. I forgot to mention in the video, but I went to Hunter College for my undergrad, and trust, it was a hot spot for men like this. All right. As per this video, this reel posted by CUNY by students, like, no, it was bad, especially because I was also majoring in sociology and I was surrounded by mostly social science majors. Y'all, it was, yeah, it. I have come across a lot of these performative males, and I've also seen them online a lot and in like leftist spaces. Me personally, I've been very lucky, thank God. I haven't like gotten entangled with any of these men, or I don't really make friends with men. They don't really bring much, but I have heard stories from my friends, like firsthand experiences of them being, in an entanglement or having. Honestly, entanglement is putting it very lightly. Just straight up like abuse, harassment from these leftist men who you think are like these sweethearts and like get it and are talking all these points about feminist theory and the patriarchy and misogyny, and they're just a wolf in a sheep's clothing, okay? And it's truly sad, and I think that's why especially I want to make this video to highlight the true harm in the fact that, and ain't shit funny. It gets to a point, like, listen, I laughed too. I thought it was a joke. It's funny, all right? And then I realized, like, these men are horrible. Yeah, they can be very. I think there's like a level of weird and evilness to these men, and let's talk about it. And that's why I'm gonna be the party pooper. You know the meme where it goes, the friend that's too woke. I'm gonna be that. I'm gonna be like, hey, shh. It's time to stop laughing. Men pretending that they care about some serious stuff that impacts the quality and the livelihood of women just so you could get some validation and some coochie. Yeah, this is getting out of hand, like low key, like this is getting out of hand. And unlike a lot of the discourses that I've seen surrounding this topic, I'm not necessarily only going to be talking about the males who are performing, but I'm also going to be touching upon the men who are laughing and making fun of performative males. We are going to deep dive into performative males and the harm that they cause, and I need to establish that in order to hold these other men who think they're better than these performative males, to hold them accountable and make a point that ain't shit funny at all. Just kidding. I actually think this whole thing is like super funny because it's like, yeah, it gets to a point. Like my friends and I, we would see certain like men dress a certain way or do something, and we were like, girl, pack it up. Rightfully, there has been some call outs, there has been some, poking and prodding and making fun, hee hee ha ha. But now I'm about to poke and prod at those who have been hee hee ha haing, particularly those men who have been hee hee ha haing. Because I feel like there is like a sense of, oh, well, I'm better than these performative males, therefore I'm allowed to make fun of them because, what ridiculous men, am I right?
The performative male joke has fully circled back around, and now the people that make the joke are the performative men. What is their performance? It is to say, girls, I get it. I'm with you. These guys, they're so stupid.
And then I also want to touch upon the male loneliness epidemic. Yeah, the big fat monster who won't stop following us. I know, everybody keeps talking about it. And how all of this somehow just became the woman's burden. It always has to end up in a woman suffering, or else, like, is it a social problem? Before I do start the video, I do want to preface by saying, in order to like truly understand the context of this video, the content of this video, you need to understand what patriarchy is. You need to understand that patriarchy is a real thing and a very much a powerful social structure and system, because I am talking about it with the assumption that we are aware that, hey, misogyny exists. Yeah, I know. And that patriarchy, bad. So that's the little preface, but let's get into it. So first, we should start by mentioning and talking about what is a performative man, and then expand it through the other eras of performative males that we have been seeing. Except they weren't, we didn't have this label to label them, but like we all knew, it's the same idea. So In our current performative men, they're usually leftist men or left-leaning. They care about women and women's rights. They read feminist theories. They listen to indie female artists. You can catch them with the little matcha latte recently. That's been a whole thing. And the whole idea, from at least from what I have heard other people say, is that these are the men who are not afraid to partake in more feminine leaning activities and interests, right? They will present themselves in a way that will, signal things in your brain where it's like, oh, I'm safe. I know, I see you, I get it.
Performative males. Performative males cosplay bisexual to trick girls into thinking they drag race. These claro whisperers curate softness for the female gaze and use feminism to speedrun to the eat your patchouli stage. For these pseudo-sensitive male leads, love bombing is domestic terrorism, and these war criminals just figured out what the word gaslighting means, and they wield tenderness like a dull blade that scratches the surface but never cuts deep, rehearsing lines that seem sincere to convince you that there might be someone worth saving underneath their costume. Performative males believe in equality and a healthy work-life balance, so you'll just be typing your emails and it'll ask to go down on you, and then call it mutual aid because they don't know what the term means. They think geopolitics is a cool name for an indie sleaze band, because performative males are just radical enough to retweet the right ideas and not enough to realize that they're shouting them over you.
Performative men, they're not something they've been around, okay? To me, like back in like 2016 to 2018, it was just like the soft boy, sad boy, vibe we had going on, and then it went from that to actually and then before that, when it was just like 2013, 2015, like, and this is, I would say, like the performative male for millennials. It's like, it was like the hipster kind of thing, right? And then we entered into the sad soft boy era, and then I think we transformed into the e-boys, where it's like they thought breaking the patriarchy and toxic masculinity was just wearing a couple of earrings and popping on some eyeliner and nail polish, right? We saw the whole thing going on and everybody losing their minds over men wearing nail polish, and apparently that was like the peak of challenging toxic masculinity. And then we learned that that shit was performative, okay? And then now we have today, right? Like, I feel like they're evolving, they're mutating stronger and stronger, right? I think it's one thing to, in quotation, challenge toxic masculinity by presenting yourself in a way through, like, like fashion or the music you listen to. And then I think it's another level of evil to pretend to actively partake in spaces that have been created and built specifically for women and any really marginalized communities. Like, now you're messing with my work, okay? Like, before it was just like, okay, you look cute, whatever you want to present yourself in a way. Now you're coming into a space pretending like you understand, okay? And I will get into exactly why I think this is happening. We're gonna touch on that too, like how come they're evolving into a way, and then the standards have evolved the point where they're now kind of manipulating emotionally and socially. And I trust me, it ties in with the male loneliness epidemic. But I want to firstly address the weirdness that I find with men, particularly, who are like poking fun at these like performative males and like, oh, these male manipulators. Men who are poking fun at performative males, you are aware that these males are conning and manipulating women, and you thought, haha, that's so funny. I don't know, it's the fact that you can specifically identify when a man is being manipulative, and we're just like collectively laughing at it. Obviously, like, that's like a type of humor where it's like, in order for something to be funny, right, there needs to be something like serious and like a sense of importance for it to come across as funny. And I know, like, the part of humor is that it's like, oh, like these horrible men who want to come across as like safe people, they think that we don't clog their tea, but guess what, we've been clocked it. So I don't know, I just keep seeing so many of these like male content creators just making fun of performative men, and it's like, is that what we're gonna do? Let's like start looking deeper. Not to be that person, but basically what I'm saying is that it gets to a point, because when you belong to the same group that you're making fun of, sometimes it could come off as tone deaf. So a lot of the times with humors and jokes, it's important to know whether or not you are within the correct group to be making fun of a situation, because you're not the one who's experiencing or being directly impacted by the actions of these group of people that you're making fun of. I also think it connects to the point where all men benefit from the negative actions of bad men. I'll put some clips up.
not gonna say much because men do not deserve to speak. I will not tell you to vote for me because I will never tell a woman what to do.
When you first watch it, it's like, haha, yeah, that's so funny. Like, I'm right. Like, gosh, they're so insufferable. And then you realize, wait a minute, what's really happening is you being aware that there are other men, right? People from your own group who take advantage of the fact that, like, if they appear and pretend to care about certain things and put a facade of being safe, they can successfully deceive women, and therefore, right, at the end, it ends up harming women. So technically, you're like laughing at the fact that these people are horrible, and nobody's like really thinking about, like, yeah, they're horrible people, and the consequences are actually much more grave than we think, right? And like, again, not to be that person, and I know people are probably groaning, you're like, oh, it's never that deep, but it really is, though. Like, it really is. Again, it is funny. It's silly, and I think it's funny too, but I think it doesn't hurt to point out the underlying bigger issue that I feel like there is, right? It's like, I think it is kind of weird and evil for men to be aware of their own group like weaponizing being socially and emotionally intelligent and aware, and using that to deceive women. That's like yet another way they have found, right? But now it's actually, it can impact the spaces where, you know, women found safe. You know, now it's just like this trust goes beyond just like romantic. Like, when you start doing shit like that, it bleeds into community. Community is one place where like many leftist people, like, that's like literally the foundation of getting shit done. So it's like, when you are now infiltrating communities, you are now impacting the work of said community. So that's why I think it's like really dangerous, and it's just like, dang, like, you are laughing at an evil thing that men do. Like, you as a man, you're laughing at something evil that another man is doing. And I think also the reason why it's so harmful is now you don't know like who you're authentically connecting and engaging with when it comes to, like, for example, if I see someone reading All About Love by Bell Hooks, I have it right here actually, and yeah, yeah, you know, nah, because she was cooking. Okay, that book, I love it. If I see you reading All About Love by Bell Hooks and I am now like discussing it in conversation and I'm being deceived, I'm getting a gun. Yeah, I'm getting a gun, because what do you mean? What do you mean you're just doing this just to get some attention? Don't piss me off.
Love a good matcha. You like to read?
Yeah, I'm reading All About Love by Bell Hooks recently. Heard of it? Oh. Oh,
What
okay.
the actual hell? Just feel like not enough men appreciate feminist literature.
For a performative male, right? It is a book to kind of get coochie, right? To appear a certain way. For women, for lots of women and femmes, it's like life-changing. So I genuinely used to think that women and femmes are like the only ones who have to constantly perform under the male gaze and the patriarchy. But seriously, men might be the ones who are actually performing constantly, and it's the saddest thing ever. Saddest thing ever, not in the sense that, oh, like, I am empathizing or I pity them. It's the saddest thing ever, like, dang, like, masculinity under the patriarchy performs is very lonely. You know, masculinity within these men are creating that sense of loneliness, the sense of the lack of community, the lack of vulnerability, or friendships or relationships built on vulnerability. And then all of a sudden, it's our problem. It's the problem of the women, the femmes. Like, it's our problem. We're the problem. We're the cause. We're the root, and we're the solution. Right? Oftentimes when like these men, you know, specifically red pillars or incels and like conservatives, they talk about the male loneliness epidemic. Somehow it's our fault. Somehow it's our fault, and we are the reason for this, but we are also supposed to be the ones solving it.
If 2 + 2 is 4, right? And 5 + 5 is 10. Okay.
Right. If I had to compare, like, you know, women performing versus male performing, I would say the biggest difference is the fact that women, we perform at the cost of ourselves in order to expend, right? And give and be presentable in a way where, you know, we are taken seriously. Our livelihood is better. It's all to like, it's a form of survival, right? Whereas for men, it's more of never like to expend yourself, right? It's never for growth. It's never for someone or something else. It's more for, it's self-serving. Men performing under the male gaze, right, in the patriarchy, it's self-serving, and it is always to gain something. It is not to sacrifice yourself so you could see an outcome that is external to yourself. It's more like it's internal. I hope that made sense. I have seen some people argue that, like, well, there are two main arguments that I've seen. One is that performative men aren't even that bad. When you're performing, you're technically partaking in it, so the line between performing versus genuinely practicing it becomes, it blurs. And then the other argument is, well, I genuinely partake into these interests and hobbies and activities, and now I'm being seen as performative. Okay,
Yo, I want to know who the fuck created the word performative male. Yo, like, let me enjoy my matcha at my tote bag. I've been doing this since 2020.
so the first one, to address the first one, the reason I completely disagree with the fact that, like, well, you could perform and then, you know, it could start authentically becoming a part of you. I think the intention is what differentiates performance versus practice. When you're performing, your intention is not pure. Your intention is to gain something out of it. Your intention is not to care about the thing itself, because it's very surface level for you, and you are doing this only to get something out of it. When you're practicing it, you are invested in it, you're committed to it, and you do not expect anything out of it.
Performative males could only ever exist in today's society. Social media hollows out dissent and turns it into aesthetics. Subcultures were originally collective forms of resistance, but when we all became consumers, identity became something you wear once and throw away, rather than something that lives inside you. So performative males are wearing symbols that got popularised on TikTok, because in a world of choices, why not choose from a pre-selected template, wear cozy cardigans, and rant about how crazy your ex is while choking down a boba tea? On a deeper level, performative males are just hyper-real signposts. This calculated display of sensitivity is just a distraction, reminding us that yes, while all this is fake, somewhere out there, true authenticity must exist. But under late capitalism, authenticity is being commodified for clicks. Aesthetic is the new ankle bracelet that stops us from noticing that we're still in chains.
When you're performing, right, it's all like, at the end of the day, you're not really about, like, there are certain things that just, like, it's not okay to just perform. Actually, I'm gonna smack the shit out of you. Don't do that. You know, there are certain topics, there are certain issues that you should not, it's actually really slimy and grimy for you to perform to care about when you actually don't. It genuinely harms people, and this is, we're talking about the livelihood of people, we're talking about the safety of women. Like I previously mentioned, like, there has been so many of, like, mutuals and friends I know who have shared the horrible abuse and harassment that they have received at the hands of these really aware and caring leftist men who perform to be, like, so socially aware and emotionally intelligent, but they're just another abuser. Yeah, I don't think it's something where we can just be like, well, it's okay to perform. To say that, you know, when you perform, you are kind of it's kind of part of you. Sure, to an extent. When the performance is about you, like, emotionally being available and intelligent and socially aware, maybe, you know, someone can comment and explain to me how, you know, performing that kind of behavior can turn into practice, and therefore, you know, we should not make a big deal out of it or villainize these performative males too much. Yeah, and then I would argue, and if you are just, like, I don't know, picking up bell hooks because you want to appear a certain way, and then you actually get into bell hook, then I think, like, that's not performance. Then there is a switch in the way that you're approaching this, right? And there's a growth. Performance versus practice, very different. And if you're not practicing about certain things, especially when it comes to women's rights and issues, bro, don't perform. Because one of these days I will get a gun. And if we are then talking about things about the performative male beyond just caring about a woman's rights, you know, and we're focusing on things like drinking matcha, collecting collectibles, listening to indie female artists. In terms specifically, like, with the collectibles and matcha thing, and I have seen someone highlight it, and I've also been thinking about it for a long time. A lot of, like, things that, you know, have roots in East Asia, it is considered for some reason more feminine interests and hobbies and activities. Like, for example, I think the fact that drinking matcha latte makes you performative is obviously very Western, because matcha lattes, just like anything to do with matcha, is obviously very common and not a big deal, you know, a place like Japan where it originates from. So if we see a Japanese man, like, partaking or, like, drinking, you know, matcha, or a Taiwanese or Chinese person, you know, drinking boba, it will be very Eurocentric or Western centric to kind of assume that they're being performative. But it's like, no, like, it's genuinely part of their culture. It's nothing that they're doing to stand out, actually. So I think, like, obviously there's, like, those cultural nuances. It's like, oh, okay, so something that, you know, these East Asian people do as just, like, a regular thing, now it's being seen as performative. And I'll tell you what, you have white supremacy to thank for that. Yeah, you better pray nothing touches the white people, because the second it touches, it's gonna get hyper consumed, it's gonna get commodified, it's gonna lose all its roots and meaning, and as someone who's South Asian and have experienced a trust, it's gonna happen, okay? And that's what's been happening with matcha, right? The fact that it is feminine is a very like Western point of view. You know, same thing with collecting, right? Like these collectibles, it has been a thing for the longest time within the East Asian community. And then like specifically labubus, that word sounds like a cursed word. I feel like I lose a couple of years of my lifespan whenever I say the word labubu. I don't know why. Me personally, you know, living in New York City, you like the Chinese community is huge here. And labubus are something that I've been seeing within like the Chinese youth for a while now. So that's why I guess it was like really surprising to me that like all of a sudden it became this big thing. And again, the number of population, right, that are engaging and partaking in an activity or an interest, no matter how large that number is, it's not really a popular or a mainstream thing unless white people get to it, unfortunately. So I guess white people discovered this thing called labubus, and then it started blowing up, and now it's a popular thing. But that's also another thing, right? Labubus kind of like collecting keychains. That's kind of like another gag that's added to the performative male thing. And yeah, again, like these things are something that a lot of like East Asian men have been like, they have been doing like genuinely. So, and then like that goes on to the point and the argument of like, well, now I'm being seen as performative because I do these things and these other men are ruining it for me. I feel like that's a theme that I see a lot within like men and their whole group. Oh, like these other men are ruining it for me. And I think buddy, now is not the time to worry about yourself. You're really worried about your image being tarnished because of your fellow men. For example, whenever like women talk about a very traumatic or negative experience with men, a lot of men, the first thing they think about is like, oh great, because of these other men, now they don't trust us. You know, instead of being like, oh hey, there's a real problem that needs to be addressed. Because why is it that so many women are having these like general blanket statements, right, about us as a whole? You are getting annoyed because it impacts your individual image of as a man, right? Rather than you thinking like, holy shit, that's really bad, this is an issue, right? Like you're making it about yourself when there are bigger problems at hand. And again, like this is not to be like, well, you can't feel. I get it. Like I get the annoyance. As someone who used to drink matcha way before it like became, you know, the white people got to it and it became like a whole huge thing, and now everybody loves matcha, right? And like now like people make fun of people who drink matcha. I get it. Now whenever I'm drinking a matcha latte, I feel like people are judging me because they're like, oh, here we go, another consumer, another blind consumer who only cares about popular things. So I get the annoyance of like, I can't partake in this thing now because everybody now will think that I'm weird. Like for example, there was like similar to this, it was like, you know, when Caribous were just like going crazy and then like everybody was scared, you know, whenever they would come across a Korean to like even express that they like K-pop, because then they're like, oh, now they're gonna think I'm a Caribou and I'm weird. Hopefully I was not the only one who is aware and saw this whole phenomenon. And I guess also like to that argument, it's like people are not poking fun at these, or at least like women and femmes are not being cautious, right, with these performative male because, you know, they're getting made fun of, but rather they know that these kind of men can be very deceiving and harmful. So it's less about trying to make fun and poking jokes and having a little giggle, and more about like, oh, I need to be wary because these motherfuckers can be pretty evil, you know. So that brings me to the next topic that I want to tie this whole thing into, is the male loneliness epidemic. How does that tie into it? To me, I think this whole, you know, idea and practice of performing and trying to differentiate yourself from the rest of the male population obviously stems from a shift in standards and what women desire, because obviously when you have collectively, like your group has a reputation because of very much real experiences, statistics, and data of being not so good, right, and being very harmful, you would want to differentiate yourself, right? And like I mentioned previously, like it was through the being, you know, a sad soft boy, then it was an e-boy slash grunge wearing nail polish, blah blah blah. Then now it's performative males, you know, wearing tote bags and then carrying a matcha and wearing like really baggy pants. I think all of these things are in an effort to differentiate yourself from the rest of the male population who are not really getting a lot of game. There aren't a lot of coochie, there aren't a lot of attention from women. And this whole thing of like pretending to be emotionally intelligent and available obviously is because of the shift of standards that women are having for their romantic relationship. For the longest time, women have had to seek out romantic partnership with men because of financial reasons. But now, like, thank God, alhamdulillah, like, thank the Lord that we don't have to do that anymore. So now no longer are we just settling just for some financial stability just to survive, right? We don't have to be in a relationship for survival reasons. Now we can choose, right? We have a choice of being in a relationship or being single, and that choice does not impact our livelihood any longer. So therefore, women are now trying to invest in their relationships. They're not just settling, right? They're like, hey, like, I have nothing else but except for emotional and spiritual fulfillment from this relationship, so why should I settle? A very valid, right? And obviously men are losing their minds, and there's apparently a whole male loneliness epidemic that apparently is our headache, because like, oh, look at these poor men. And it's just like, no, that's the consequences of your own actions. If you really care about like being lonely, and if being in a relationship truly is your true desire, why don't you work on yourself? Why don't you grow? Why don't you become a good person? It's not that hard. Go to therapy, you know, read some books, talk to women, view them as human beings. Hey man, it's not that hard. But so because there's the shift in standards and expectations for what women look for in a romantic partner and what they value, right? Now these men are like, hey, I have an idea. Instead of like actually becoming emotionally intelligent and available, I'm gonna pretend to be emotionally intelligent and available, so that like I can deceive these women, and then they're gonna give me coochie now because they think I am, but I'm actually not. Ha ha ha.
Hey, I like your outfit.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, your headphones.
Oh, no, these aren't headphones. It's a PA simulator.
What? Are you actually wearing that?
Yeah, it's on 10.
Wait, why are you wearing that?
Well, you know, it's just a daily reminder for me of, like, you know, what women go through. I know it's only like 1/10 of what y'all go through, but, you know, it's just for me.
Wait, so why are you at the park?
Well, you know, my daily thing is I like to dress up, me and my son, look at him, cute. And I like to read and get matcha at the same time, but, you know, I forgot to get matcha today. You guys want to come get some with me?
We don't really like matcha.
Oh, y'all don't like matcha? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Can I get y'all number so we can maybe get something else, whatever y'all like?
Oh, we don't give out our number.
We don't do that. We don't give our number out, sorry.
Oh, okay, yeah. I knew this forward shit don't work, man.
What?
Fuck the bag, fuck the hat. Hey, this shit not even plugged in. This shit don't even work. I hope y'all get 8 periods a month, bro. Fuck y'all, bro.
Oh my god.
Wait, he's kind of hot.
I know.
Wait, hold on. Can I actually get your number?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Then like what they're not realizing is that in the long run now, like, you are giving women more and more trust issues, and now we cannot trust nobody. Even if you appear to be a feminist and you care about these issues, and you appear to be safe and someone that we can connect with, we're like, oh, this is all a facade. Brother, you're adding to the male loneliness epidemic. What I also think is really funny, and I guess like this is not truly the video for it, but I still want to point out, is like, we talk about this male loneliness epidemic, but we don't realize that all these straight men that are lonely, that also means that there are these like a whole group of straight women that are lonely. Because if these men are not in relationships, that means there are women who are not in relationships either. So it's like, it's not only the men who are suffering from this, you know? Like, you think women like don't want a fulfilling romantic relationship? Do you think that they don't desire that? Like, this whole thing of like painting women as like these evil masterminds who are like so unrealistic and blah blah blah, and you know, they're happy, they don't, you know, it's like, no, the only reason you think that we are thriving, right, whereas men are suffering, is because for the longest time men have been making women's, well, not even for the longest time, even now, like, men make women's lives harder, more stressful. It's like living hell. And the reason it may seem like that we are not suffering is because we actually know how to build community. We actually know how to like care for ourselves, which apparently these men don't, and somehow it's our problem. Hey, clock in, start making friends, start caring about each other, start being vulnerable, start growing emotionally, start going to therapy, you know? Like, all of a sudden it's just like, no, like, these women are lonely too. Them not being in a relationship isn't something that they're like thriving off of. Like, a lot of these women want to be in a relationship, but they know that they would rather be at peace than have to deal with a child, right? Like, nobody wants that. So really, it's just a loneliness epidemic. I wouldn't even call it a male loneliness epidemic. It's a loneliness epidemic that is a consequence of the actions of men. Nonetheless, whether or not your, you know, loneliness, right, or the reason for women deterring away from men is because of incels, red pillars, or performative males, at the end of the day, like, the ones who are getting harmed are women. Women are not just like staying away from men just because they feel like it. is because there are real harmful consequences and impacts that they have faced. They have seen people face. They have seen their mothers, their aunts, their cousins, their friends, their sisters, their daughters, like everything everywhere around them. They're seeing reality and they're like, hey, I would rather not. And guess what? For the first time in history, I would rather not is not gonna kill them, and they can actually survive. And I think it's actually really weird for men to be bitter about that instead of focusing on themselves and being better human beings. I don't know. So I will take a little hot take and say that it is very misogynistic. I mean, if it wasn't obvious, it's very misogynistic to deceive women, pretend to be something just so you can get some coochie and validation. But let me take it a step further. Okay, I think that's all I've been doing, just inching forward, right? Little by little. Let me take it a step further and say, what if it's never been about the women? What if it's never about the women? Even though like the woman is somehow the ammunition for this whole thing, it's not actually about the women. So what do I mean by that? Men view women as accessories to their lives. They don't view women as full-fledged individual human beings who are equal to them, who they have to do a partnership with. I think the idea, an analogy that I can use to kind of compare and equate it is luxury brand, right? Like clothing or any item from a luxury brand is really not about the brand itself if you think about it. The whole value in holding or owning a luxury or designer item is not the fact that you have that item itself, but it's more so about the social validation and acceptance that you're going to get from owning that item. Does that make sense? Okay, I hope that made sense, because at the end of the day, you can have two of the same quality bags and one of them is under a designer label and the other one isn't. You are going to get more social currency and acceptance and validation from owning the designer labeled bag than the one with no designer label, because that's what's called like the social cultural context and conditioning, right? Similarly, that's how men view women. They don't want to be with women, they want to have women, right? And there's a huge difference. Being with someone, right, you are sharing your space equally, right? You are committed equally, you are determined equally, etc. Versus having something is you don't even look at this human being as a person. You view it as an accessory to your life, to your legacy or whatever. A lot of the times, actually I will say majority of men don't even want to be with women just because they want to be with the woman, just because the woman is like, they see this person as this complex human being who's worthy of like investing into. They see it as a way of gaining social validation, especially from other men under the patriarchy. Because why else would you deceive this very thing that you would want to be committed to? If you really wanted to be with that woman, you wouldn't want to deceive them. So really, how far are performative males away from incels, who both of them view women as a way to kind of, for themselves, for it's self-serving purposes, right? And it's not even incels and performative males, it's majority of men. That's how they view women. That's how they view relationship. And that's why they think a lot of, and unfortunately, working in education and talking with a lot of like teenage boys, it's like a lot of the times they think, oh, like I gave, you know, I bought this and that for my girl and like she doesn't even care, blah blah blah. Like it's like thinking that material things is going to somehow get you somewhere with this person, when it's like, no, like this is not a property where you invest into and you get something in return, right? Like this is not a transaction, this is not an investment. Like that's not how relationships work. But because men fail to view women as these full-fledged complex human beings, they think that's how it works. So that's why, right, like it's like these performative male think like, okay, like if I put in this like formula, it's gonna give me female attention. And really, same way, it's like incels, red pillars, performative males, right? All they want is something that would serve themselves out of women. They don't actually want the woman. They don't care about the woman. Because you would never, and this is specifically performative males, you would never deceive someone that you would want a partnership with. That's weird, that's inauthentic, and that's harmful, and that's evil. Okay, and that's my 2 cents on how the parallels between an incel and a performative male. The common denominator is misogyny. Okay, yeah, I mean, I think like this whole, you know, men's like standards and their desires and their preferences that they so think is so individual and then personal, is actually just to gain validation and social capital from other men. That could be a whole another separate video that I can make. I would actually love to. There's just so much that can be said about that. Anyways, so to stay on the topic of performative males, clearly this performative male thing is coming out of the male loneliness epidemic, where they want to differentiate themselves. But at the end of the day, the ones who are still suffering are women. They're still the one bearing the burden. And really, ain't shit funny anymore, okay? When you dig deeper, you're like, it's funny to a point, but it's like, well, that's all for this video. And if you stuck around till this long, thank you so much for watching the video. You know, if you have any thoughts, you know, your own perspective, your own insight, your own connections, please leave it in the comments down below. And if you did like this video, please leave a like, and bye-bye. Thank you.